The RTX 4080 may have been one of the most boring GPU launches we've had in recent years, given what most of the PC gaming community and hardware reviewers were talking about. However, if you take a look at how this card is actually doing in the market, you'll notice that it's actually out of stock in a lot of places. Was all that negativity just an echo chamber, and is this GPU actually something PC gamers are picking up? All of that and more to be discussed in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on, guys? Danny here, welcome back to the channel, and I hope you've all been doing well. We've got some GPU news to talk about in this one, and starting us off is the current state of the GPU market. More specifically, I wanted to talk about the RTX 4080 Super. Now, if you've been out of the loop, I definitely urge you to watch my previous video where I do an overview of the 4080 Super and talk about its strengths and weaknesses, along with why someone would want to buy this card. To give you a quick TLDR, the 4080 Super basically performs like a moderately overclocked 4080 non-super. That's it. Which was a given, but the main appeal of the card was that compared to the original 4080, which had an MSRP of $1,200, the 4080 Super comes in at a low price of just $1,000. So most PC gamers and reviewers didn't receive the card with much enthusiasm. I mean, sure, there was a price cut, but based on the feedback I had gotten from you guys in the comments of that last video, many of you were still not satisfied with it and want this type of card and this level of performance to be cheaper, with some going as far as to say it should have been the same price as what the RTX 3080 launched at. Not so sure about that one, but we can talk and debate all day long about why it could be cheaper based on its performance and compared to previous hardware, but at the end of the day, it's not going to change anything. If you're cool and happy with the price, that's great. If not, then don't buy it, and you're gonna have to look at some other alternative. But shifting away from the reception, how did this card actually do in the market? Well, I was looking on places like Newegg, and I noticed that if you filter the results to show only RTX 4080 Supers, select what's in stock, and remove combo options, then you'll see that there is barely anything left in stock except for one or two high-end premium models, which of course are well above MSRP. I checked on Amazon and the situation was the same. The only model I could find was this premium model, which was well above MSRP. Same thing was happening over on Best Buy. You can see a lot of cards are just out of stock. I also checked stock at Canada Computers, who are our main retailer for PC parts up north here in Canada, and our situation does seem slightly better. You can find models that are a tad bit higher than MSRP, but they're still readily available, though you are looking at 1 to 2 cards in stock at some locations. Whereas if you look at stock for the 4070 Super, there's a lot more available. When you have situations like this where a new card or product is out of stock and it's hard to get, it usually comes down to two things. The first is that despite all of the negativity, the card was actually highly sought after by high-end PC gamers. And we've seen this happen before just recently. If you were to go back and take a look at the reviews for the 4070 Ti and the original 4070, you'd be led to believe the card wouldn't have done so well in the market. However, it turns out they were the best selling cards in the 40 series lineup. They sold a lot of those GPUs, so it just goes to show you that there is a big chunk of the market that isn't on YouTube or places like Reddit or hardware forums echoing the negativity, and they're happily buying these new cards. The second could be that there just wasn't a lot of supplied stock to begin with. Not entirely sure if this was a legitimate supply chain issue, if they didn't have enough 8103 dies, or this was deliberately set up that way. Now, from speaking with some sources, I believe it is a combination of both. As discussed in my last video, there were a number of people who were holding out for this card. A lot of recent 4080 owners who ended up returning their cards and just bought this one, which makes sense. If you're within your return window, why wouldn't you want to return that one, get the card that has better specs on paper, and then saves you like $200. However, I was told that the amount of cards that were received from suppliers to retailers wasn't nearly as much as we've seen from other releases. Definitely an interesting turn of events. You'd think from everything you'd be hearing, the cards would just be sitting on store shelves, but that's not what's happening here. Like I said, there are people out there that are like, you know what, I just want a high-end GPU right now. Sure, there might be something better around the corner, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And another thing I wanted to emphasize from my last video, I think these 4080 Super cards may just end up holding their value for a really long time because we're seeing this uptrend in pricing. So when you see the next gen 80 class GPU comes out and it's at a much higher price than what people were expecting, they'll just go, you know what, I'm just gonna buy last gen instead. And that's what's gonna happen is the demand for last gen is gonna go up and thus the price is gonna remain high. That is actually what happened with this generation as well. Many people who were expecting the 4070 to offer 3090 levels of performance right out of the gate were left disappointed, and then the 3090 and 3090 Ti ended up holding their value for quite a while, and also because they offered double the VRAM on a much larger bus. Let's give it about a month and we'll have a much better idea on how the card is actually doing. but I think a lot of people are going to be ending up surprised to see the 4080 Super selling decently in the market. And that's also because people have stopped considering the 4090 now. I mean, sure, you can still go out and buy one, but if they feel like they have any remorse or they want something as a stopgap, then the 4080 Super seems more feasible. Now, moving on, and I also saw there were people who were reporting price drops of various GPUs from both AMD and Nvidia. The first notable price drop I saw was mentioned by video cards, and here you can see the screenshot of an RX 7700 XT selling for around $350. This is a price point that actually makes this card very compelling. Well, for starters, it's only about 30 bucks more than the garbage 7600 XT, and it performs way higher. We're looking at 3070 Ti and 6800 levels of performance. For 1080p and 1440p gaming, not including ray tracing, that is still very, very good raster performance. The issue with this card was when it launched, it was at $449. It was just too closely priced to the 7800 XT, which was an obvious upsell. But at $350, it will look a lot more appealing and give you really good performance per dollar. Unfortunately, it looks like those deals are now gone, but if you keep your eyes peeled, perhaps you might see them come back. Next, it seems like there is a bit of a battle going on over at the $700 mark, where you can buy a 4070 Ti non-super or an RX 7900 XT. Honestly, if I had to pick between the two, I'd be very much leaning towards the 7900 XT. On paper, it's got much better specs and should age much better than the 4070 Ti. It's also got considerably better raster performance as well. But again, if you care about better software features and ray tracing capabilities, then the 4070 Ti will be your go-to option, though I'd argue at this price point, how much is the user really going to be caring about that stuff? Shifting away from GPU sales, it looks like CableMod have gotten themselves in a heap of trouble. This stems from the issues of the new 12-volt HPWR connection of the 40 series. If you guys recall, there were a number of stories being posted on social media, YouTube, and hardware forums when the 40 series came out of these connectors melting and burning up. Many manufacturers suggested that putting a harsh bend close to the connector can actually cause connectivity issues and result in higher resistance of the connector itself, and then lead to these melted problems. This is where CableMod came in, because they have these right-angled designed connectors which are supposed to prevent the user from dealing with those harsh bends. However, it looks like a number of them did turn out to be defective. There have been recalls, and it's caused CableMod $74.5K in property damage claims in the US alone. I'll leave the links to the articles down below so you can read more into it if you're interested, but this is also some pretty eye-opening stuff, as we've never really had to deal with a connection issue like this in the past. Now granted, the defect is still relatively low, and from my anecdotal experience, I haven't had any issues. I'm actually using this Chinese branded adapter from Amazon that I bought when the 4090 came out, and I personally haven't had any issues, but I also have my 4090 undervolted, power limited, and I also play with an FPS cap. So that's also contributing to making the card run on less power. So if you have a 4090 or any card that uses this connector, definitely be mindful of how you have it connected. Make sure you don't have any harsh bends. There's some, videos out there showing you what you can do. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for this one. We'll touch base in the next video. If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.